Kind of our last topic here. Man, we need a marketing department. These slides are so inferior. Hopefully you guys can see this. So let's blow this up to company-wide. The idea here is to look at kind of what has changed with profit and cash flows from 2019 to today. Why are we feeling it? And then maybe what are some of the mitigating ways we can add back to profit, diversify our risk. So this is a fictitious example dealer. I'm going to kind of set the stage here. At the bottom, you can see a little bit of the parameters. So they started before pre-pandemic at 575 accounts, 6.9 million in principal and residual. Debt on that portfolio was 3.8 million, and their cost of capital at that time was 7.5%. And the monthly payment, this is probably a slightly lower ACV than maybe some of us are doing in the room, $400 net of sales tax. So fast forward to today, and these will be annualized numbers. It's not through August or something. Fast forward to today, 625 accounts, 8.1 million in principal and residual. And so our portfolio, dollars-wise, grew more than proportionally to our portfolio account-wise, right? Because we've got a higher ACV, higher amount financed, so our portfolio is growing even if the accounts aren't growing that much. Same goes for debt. Each unit we put out on the road is a higher ACV and more ask of our lender. And so, of course, the biggie, our cost of capital, even if we have some stuff fixed at a lower rate from 2 or 3 years ago, blending in the newer stuff, many of our effective cost of capital has almost doubled, so 12% in this example. And so I'll just walk us down here for a second to point out a couple things and open it up. Looking at top down in the P&L here, your P&L may look a little bit different. This isn't the template, the be-all, end-all. But our lease income, of course, has gone up a little bit. Our wholesale losses and our leased cost of sales, so wholesaling the units or liquidating our units out of lease has gone up somewhat dramatically to the point where our gross profit, despite the 15% larger portfolio, has barely ticked upward, right? It's more or less the same as it was. But what about overhead? The first one here, you could really probably call it part of the cost of goods, but the first one here is the after sale. This is a dramatic example, but I think a lot of us are feeling it with our higher mileage units. Tim's slide this morning was really good where it showed that we stayed in a 2014 model for 3 years. It's costing us an after sale in mechanical. We're coming back more frequently. Those are real dollars out of our door. And of course, there's cost creep across the board. Tim also showed the inflationary slide. Most of our costs across the board, rent, utilities, people, are up 15-20% from pre-pandemic. And of course, the cost of capital, the interest expense. We've got the double whammy there where our rate has almost doubled, but in many cases we also have more debt because we're peddling a higher ACV. Maybe we've grown, maybe both. So when the dust settles, what has happened? In this dealer's case, I think you could scale it to your business, and many, hopefully not all, but I think many of you are feeling this scenario a bit. We made a lot of money, a good amount of profit in 2019, $500,000, and now we're back down to break even, and cash flows are tighter. And so it begs the question, those that aren't, what have they done to mitigate this credit crunch and actually make 2023 a better year than 2022?
So some of the things that, what can we do to help mitigate, the cash flow crunch and the costs? I think the Dan interview earlier was a good one because I think there is a place to have a retail arm or side of your business with your buy here, pay here, or lease here, pay here dealership. I think it provides, you heard Dan talk about $6,000 grosses. That's not everywhere, but I think $4,000 grosses is, and you could see that a $4,000 gross compared to some of the numbers we showed earlier, you would have been ahead of the game a little bit there. I think long term, having a mix between the two is ideal. I think building a portfolio that you can gradually pay off and own over time, that's where the wealth creation happens. But having that retail piece that can supplement it and that can add a little injection of cash flow, I know it can be difficult to train employees and softwares and get all signed up with all the different third parties, but I think it has a place, and especially right now, to help with cash flow. Outside service income, if you have, shop employees are hard to come by. I don't think anybody here has a full shop right now is my guess. But I think having that extra service income, if you have an extra bay or two, can you do some outside? So it's just about maximizing your resources and generating as much income. I always joke that maybe you should just set up a little bubble gum stand next to your payment counter. Every bit helps. But finding different revenue streams to add to your bottom line right now, though, is critical. And having wasted assets or wasted space, maybe you could sublease part of your building that you're not using or something along those lines. Bring a tech in that can do outside work and your work. I don't know, but I think we're in a time right now that we're not going to go back to the 2019 and prior. Our cost structures are higher, and if we're not thinking through each line item on our P&L and where we can cut or how can we do something different, whether it's bring stuff in, outsource it, whatever the case might be, I think we're kind of kidding ourselves that we can outrun the expense structure that's before us right now. So charge off, collections, whether you maybe selling off, some of your notes. I'm not a huge proponent of that, but there might be a time and a place for that. Reinsurance products, a way to generate a little bit more revenue, per customer to help cover your costs. And then attacking the most expensive debt first. Working with several of our clients right now on, taking some of the high interest debt. Maybe it's family debt that you've paid off 15% and they're willing to, and you have an avenue to get it down to 13% somehow, or refinance the real estate to pay off other debts at a higher rate. I think we need to think outside the box. I know we hate leveraging real estate. So many dealers hate that, but I think that's a huge thing right now to lower some of these 15, 16% rates that we're seeing, get it back down to 9 or 10. It's difficult. Banks aren't necessarily lending free. We've had a couple of declines in the last couple weeks with a couple of dealers, but I think just because that cash coverage ratio that Tim was talking about, the interest coverage ratio, those things are really nailing us right now when we're trying to do some of this alternative financing with banks. But I think it's really time to take a line by line approach to your P&L and really have a hard discussions with employees and with yourself on where can we cut, because I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah.